Hi friends, Dr. Mary Starr, the Total Wellness Doc, and it's the end of the day, and I promised, hey friends, Dr. Mary Starr, the Total Wellness Doc, it's the end of the day, but I have promised some of you, some of my close friends, that I would talk about diabetes, pre-diabetes. So even though I'm tired, I want to get some of these things off of my mind and out to you. So, how many of you would say you know someone with diabetes, right? We probably all know someone with diabetes. How many of you, and just shoot me in the comments like, yes, I'm personally affected by it, or I know someone with type 2 diabetes, or I have a impaired fasting glucose and they told me that I could be pre-diabetic, right? So we all probably know someone because we are in a world where this is it's a problem. And it's not just happening with the obese, it's happening in people who are thin and look healthy. It's in people who, just a variety of things. So I want to get some of these things off of my mind because they're important, right? They're important. And so they're my opinions. They're what I've seen over the many years of working with clients and patients and just living life. And of course, the wellness company that I'm a part of and our clients, all over the world, usually some of them have some of these issues going on as well. Okay, so forgive me again, I'm a little bit tired, but I want to just kind of go back to my first experience with seeing a true diabetic. And I remember I was just in like undergraduate college. I was working at this little grocery store, Garofalo's, for those of you who live in Oswego. And one of the men who would come in, he had lost a leg. And I remember going off to college and then coming back, and he was in a wheelchair. And he would go around town and he would pick up cans. He would literally pick up cans. Now, he was a diabetic because he chose to drink, and some of the things, his lifestyle was like obvious, right? That's kind of the obvious diabetic type 2, didn't take care of themselves, and it killed his vasculature, which was why his limbs. So if you don't know that, that's what kind of the science behind diabetes is. When it gets worse and worse and worse, it kind of, you know, you you start to have big problems, big problems. Okay, and I'm not just talking about toes. I'm talking about male organs and other things, because it can be a problem. And then when I was a chiropractor, I remember having some of my patients, some of my men patients who were overweight, and they were telling me about some of these things, or they were a type 2 diabetic and they were having some of these symptoms coming on and having issues in the bedroom and all of this. So it's a bad news. But then I started meeting people who weren't overweight and who had type 2 diabetes or who were pre-diabetic. And this is what I really want to talk about. Now, we understand that because most people who are diagnosed with type 2 diabetes were for many years probably pre-diabetic, right? Their sugar was elevated, but not enough to label them, not enough to medicate them, but they had issues. So it was very much lifestyle induced. Overeating, eating too much sugary things. And a lot of people don't necessarily have to be fast food eaters. In fact, I remember this one friend I went to high school with. I remember being in my clinic, and I hadn't seen him for several years. He was married and stuff like that. And his wife was talking to me, and she was asking me about diabetes, type 2 diabetes. I was like, what? And I realized this young person, right? He was still in his 20s at that time, got diabetes. But that was his lifestyle, right? He used to be very active, but then he was eating, McDonald's like morning, noon, and night. And that, we've all seen that. What's that story with a guy who eats McDonald's like every day for 30 days and like what happens to him, right? So that's like a direct cause, right? But then there's this group of people who don't realize, like, they get up in the morning, have that big glass of orange juice full of sugar, right? Or they have the soda in the afternoon, whatever kind of soda, right? Or drink or juice. They have the apple juice. They have this. Like, they're constantly like throwing their blood sugar up and up, or they're having the coffee or the Starbucks with all of these things of sugar. My daughter and I were reading a book the other day where literally, oh, Supersize was that movie. Watch that movie. It's incredible. You know, my husband, oh, I shouldn't say that, but anyway, he's been getting into drinking Sprites a lot lately, right? This little can of Sprite. And we were looking, there's like 12 teaspoons, right? 12 teaspoons. That's like 4 tablespoons of sugar in this little can of soda. It's crazy, right? It's crazy. Any of you who want to cut the soda, come see me. Get some Ninja Red, okay? I promise you, this stuff will give you energy without the caffeine, without the sugar. It's just power-packed with good nutrients and amino acids and things your body wants, like things your body wants. And a lot of times we drink those sodas, we eat the chocolate and stuff because our body is deficient. In fact, someone else in my family recently was saying, you know what? It's like I'm eating this stuff and I'm not getting full. And it's because like my body is, I'm just deficient. I really think I'm deficient, like in minerals and vitamins. Like, I just keep my mouth shut, right? But anyway, Ninja Red. So if you're a person in that poor lifestyle state and you know you're going to be heading towards the bad news area, it's time to make some changes. And one very, very simple change you can make is to give yourself some Ninja Red every day. And I'm not talking about pomegranate juice. I'm not talking about ICA or whatever, or any other thing out there. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this because I know if you drink this and more water, if you drink this and more water, if you are, 125 to 50 pounds, maybe 2 to 3 ounces a day. If you're heavier, you're 180, 200 pounds, you really need 4, maybe even sometimes 5 ounces a day in water. You can drink it straight, tastes great straight, but it'll help you drink more water. Okay, that's my thing about juices and sugars and stuff like that. And I see this in teenagers and I see this in adults. It's just that we get so drawn to the sodas and stuff like that. Even myself, I've been getting that sparkling water. Guess what I put in it? Because it makes me feel like, I'm having a treat and this is awesome and this is good. Now, alcohol, right? Alcohol is another reason that we can become, because alcohol has a ton of sugar in it. Wine has a ton of sugar in it. And so that can, throw our blood sugar off too. But, one of the reasons that I believe people are becoming more and more type 2 diabetic. Now, I'm going to tell you some bad reasons. I'm going to tell you some good stories at the end. Is that I believe things that are happening in their life. Now, I remember when I met my first woman in a practice I was a part of who had type 2 diabetes. She wasn't really overweight, but she had just been through a pretty serious 3-4 year trauma of being a caregiver for her parents as they end of life, right? So it was one parent right after the other parent. She had a teenager at home, and the teenager had a few health issues of his own too. So she was like this caregiver for her family and this other family, and being an only child and stuff like that. And it was just all this pressure on her. Now, looking back, I remember this client. Now, I didn't have kids then, right? I didn't have much stressors then, or the whatever, that comes with more adulthood. And I thought, wow, and then I started seeing more and more people who've been through traumas, who had high stress seasons of their life, or even people who had like even childhood abuse, right? That we would see some of these things. They kind of looked healthy and all that, but they were really struggling with that. And that, I think, has something to do with the adrenal glands, the stress hormones, and it's not just about balancing the blood sugar, but you got to get the hormones back And I'm not the expert on that, but I can lead you to the expert about those things too, if that's an area you think you have. Okay, so you're eating poor and you have high stress. You're heading, you're heading to type 2 diabetes. That's where you're going. Now, how about stress? Let's talk about toxins. Now, I remember that a few years later, and I met on and off people too who worked in a area in our county that had like mechanics, but there was this one paper mill, and a lot of people had gotten sick from this because they found out about cancer causing things and stuff like that. So my one friend's husband, who was type 2 diabetes, he had just had years, like where his hands would be in these chemicals, and plus he worked as a camp mechanic, and then he did construction on the site. Like, he just had all these toxins. And I think when he was younger, he smoked, you know what I mean? So all of those things led up to a lot of toxins. And with blood sugar, here's our little cells, like they're little balls. And on the balls are these little, like, receptors, right? It's like a little open thing, and it's waiting for the nutrients and the good stuff to come in so it can bring the nutrients into the cell. And what happens, right? Or insulin, and I'm not explaining it perfect, but you can get the picture. What happens when you have a lot of toxins in your body is these receptors get clogged with toxins. So they no longer can become receptible to getting the nutrients, getting the sugars and all of those things into the cell. And the body becomes almost like numb, right? Or indifferent to the good stuff. So I have a theory. That when you can, this is my theory, when you can lower stress, right? You can lower the stress, and not just lower it, but like clean up the trauma from before. A lot of people are like, oh, I lowered my stress, but I didn't deal with the crap that happened before, right? I didn't deal with this issue with my daughter. I didn't deal with my feelings about this abuse or whatever it is. And there's so many good, amazing things. I could go on and on. If you've never heard of Mama Hug or grief recovery is amazing. Codependent No More. Like, there's so many good programs out there for healing emotional trauma. Really, really important, I think. I don't think the body truly heals until we heal all of that stuff. In fact, I read it in a book the other day too. It talked about men. And when men get over a certain age, if they haven't dealt with, some of that past stuff, that it will show up later in life. Like, it'll show up in physical ailments and things like that. Now, you might think that's woo-woo or whatever, but I really believe it as truth. I really believe it's truth for both men and women. Okay, so if we're not going to first, you got to lower the stress. That means things like delegations. That means things like, I was talking to my friend today, and she was talking about this very stressful time in her life, and she's always a yes person, and you have to learn to say no, right? She was like, I had to say no, even though it was church and they wanted me to do this. I had to say no. Like, we have to say no. She was like to her son, it's like, no, we cannot play soccer because the only 2 days that we have as a family together are Thursdays and Fridays. And you cannot play soccer. We're just not going to do that. So what's my point here is that we have to change our lifestyles. We have to get the good rest. We have to ask for what we want. We have to heal the old stuff. There's so much there, right? We have to do good things for our body. We've got to drink the water. We've got to change out what we drink, right? Don't even get me on Red Bulls and stuff like that. I mean, there's just too much evidence right now about the energy drinks. I got a safe, good energy drink for you. This is one of them. I've got a soda one too that if you want to try, that's called Ninja Zing. That's amazing. And then my favorite is called Ninja Nitro, and that's just B vitamins and just really, really good. Little bit of caffeine, but just really positive for the body. So if you want to replace any of those, go ahead. And what I meant about Red Bulls and stuff is I've seen too many people have strokes, like young people. It like puts holes in your brain, okay? Stop it. Stop overdoing the caffeine. Dr. Sherry was sharing with us in our COVID class the other day. She was sharing that people who have had extended periods of stress, there's this little like part of your brain called the hippocampus, and it looks like little cigarettes have been burnt in your hippocampus. Like, that's crazy. But the great thing about our body is it does heal itself, right? So you can heal yourself. You can get your hormones working again. You can get your thyroid and all of these things working better again, especially by eliminating the toxins, pouring in the good nutrition, right? And exercise. I remember seeing, going to the gym after having a baby, and I was working out with a trainer. I remember my old music teacher from elementary school was there, Mr. Boyd, and he was like, and he must have been in his 70s by then, like, and he's got these muscles and stuff like that. I'm like, wow. He goes, oh yeah, I used to have type 2 diabetes and I don't have it anymore just from this. He hadn't changed the way he ate. It was just from weightlifting. And there's a lot of great evidence of what weightlifting and that can do for the body to balance the hormones, balance the blood sugar, and get you out of that type 2 diabetes into a more healthy state. So, to wrap this up, pre-diabetes and type 2 diabetes, yes, can absolutely come from your lifestyle. Can be overeating, eating too much of the bad stuff, or maybe it's just these juices and things like that, these coffees and stuff like that your body just cannot take all that, right? And you gotta get the good stuff. Or maybe it's toxins and you've been exposed to a lot of toxins. Maybe you smoked or did some other things. Maybe you've had a lot of pharmaceuticals in your life, or the environment you're in, right? All of those things can add to our body's ability to balance blood sugar. The third thing is trauma and stress, right? Now, we can do things to lower stress, but we also have to look how trauma in those seasons of high stress that we've had, and we have to go and look at healing some of those things. And I have some great ideas for you. And I hope that this has kind of been beneficial for you. If you would like to learn more about how to replace some of the good things and get a hold of some of these good juice, I'd love to help you. Make sure you message me in the comments and let me know. Make sure you like and subscribe to our channel here too. It means a lot to me if you want more of these little tips and things like that. Also, if you want some of those emotional resources about healing trauma, or you just want some simple essential oils. See this behind me? I have two beautiful diffusers that are so wonderful to put things like stress away in, right? To put peace and calming, or lavender in, to naturally make the environment and the people around me less stressed. And I think we all need that right now, right? After the year that we've just had, we all need less stress, and we need to do this on a daily basis, inhaling our essential oils, doing all that. I hope this was helpful to you. Please get a hold of me. You can reach me at info@starrhealth.com, info@starrhealth.com, or you can call us directly at 1-888-351-6850. That's 1-888-351-6850. Put down in the comments what you like best about this little talk, and we'll talk to you again soon. Bye.